Over the last 3 years, I was a co-founder of a coaching mastermind for young entrepreneurs looking to grow and scale their business. We managed to take that from 1.4k a month up to our 33k a month highest revenue with around about a 40% net profit margin. Today, I want to share with you a little bit more of an honest video, but the real systems and processes behind us actually growing to that as a coaching company, as that's what I'm wanting to help you guys do now. As there's a lot of misleading things online that I see constantly, and it's just not the reality of it. If you're also looking to see where your company currently stands with systems and if you're ready to scale, I've got a quiz that I've made for you that you can fill in. It'll take you 5 minutes and it'll give you a score and some actionable steps that you can take in order to start pushing forward. First link will be in the description for you and you can check it out. We worked with roughly about 300 entrepreneurs over the last 3 years. And this was entrepreneurs starting out in their journey. This was entrepreneurs growing their teams. This was ones quitting their jobs. We genuinely saw probably every type of entrepreneur. We've worked with people doing $1 million a month. We've worked with people doing hundreds of pounds a month. It's a massive difference in the types of people that we worked with and that we helped as we scaled our company as well. Previous company that I was working with still runs today. It's called The Uncommon, and I'm still a part of it. I'm still helping the guys grow. But our main focus was to bring really good entrepreneurs together to actually help them get to that next level. That means we rejected most of the people that tried to apply to join, as we didn't want to make it like the same as other communities, and we really focused heavily on how we could deliver the most amount of value that we could for the money that people were paying. We made every mistake under the sun and continued to just test and trial everything that we could possibly do. So I want to split this video into 3 different areas and just give you insights as to what we were doing during that time and what actually worked really well so that you could potentially implement it yourself. 3 common things I hate to see online. The problem with them as well is that these videos go viral a lot of the time. These videos get a lot of views if it's on social media or if it's on something like YouTube. One of the ones that I hate is that a lot of people lie to you online about what it actually takes to get somewhere. Talking about getting to your first 10k really, really quickly. And if you're coming in with no knowledge or no experience in an industry, you are severely lacking with the competition that you are going to be up against. This isn't to say that you couldn't be successful with what these people are trying to sell you online, but reality is I have yet to find people that can go from zero knowledge on anything possible in business to then hitting their first 10k month in a couple of weeks or a month. Just doesn't seem to match because there's so many little things in business that you do not know until you've genuinely tried it. And although you can try and help people actually learn those things and so that they don't stumble, there's always something that seems to get in the way. If you do know people that do that, honestly, kudos to them, because I feel there's a lot of things that block you from trying to get to that position, and that 10k mark is like that height people want to really reach. And it can be quite difficult in the beginning. The second issue that I see is from people that are big creators at this point. So they're earning hundreds of thousands a month and they are trying to teach you how to make your first, thousands, your 10Ks, your 20Ks. And a lot of them have the right intentions to actually help you grow. But the reality is they are no longer in that mindset that they were when they were in that moment. So what I mean by that was that I couldn't usually relate to these people because they were just telling you these steps off the top of their head of how easy it was to go to the next step and the next step and the next step. But they forget to tell you everything that happened in that period of time of what they had to go through in order to get there. Meaning they're forgetting about all the ups and downs, the battles, the things that they had to conquer in themselves as an individual and in their business to actually make it something that's viable to grow and to scale. So they're telling you all these things about what they've done, but they're missing kind of the main point in that a lot of that messy middle isn't easy. And the third one, and this is the one I hate the most, is where people are just obviously trying to sell you as an upsell. So they're not actually giving you the real information. They're giving you like parts of the information and then selling you on their mastermind course. Some of you who are maybe watching this for the first time are going to think, well, that's what we done. I'm giving you that example and we were selling people onto the course. But the reality is it's so easy to sniff out people who are just trying to use you to get some money. That's why we rejected, so many people that actually applied for the Uncommon, was because we didn't want absolute weapons in the business, because you have one toxic person and that will easily spread. And if you're starting out, those are actually quite hard to tell the difference of who's actually out to get you and who's out to genuinely help you. What I would say is just look for people with good values. And what I mean by good values is sharing their honest thoughts actually showcasing client results that they've been able to get and not being afraid to talk about the challenges that they've had. Okay, I've got the spiel out the way of some of the things that it takes. So let's actually get into the real results of what you should be looking at. Now, back when we first started business, we were doing 1.4K a month. That's when I joined John, the co-founder of Uncommon, to actually build this. And when we originally had our conversation, it was in Five Guys. John had took me to say, I think we can build something together. And we were going to meet, every couple of weeks to see how we were getting on. We're going to choose 3 different things to work on the business to try and improve it. And we'll meet every couple of weeks. And I sat down and said, that is absolutely not the case. We cannot do it this way. We have to meet on a consistent basis, 3 or 4 times a week. We need to be talking every day on the things that we're wanting to improve, and we genuinely need to take this seriously if we're wanting to get this to the next stage. And John agreed completely, because in order to actually get where you want to go in the beginning, when you don't have experience and you don't have knowledge and you don't have connections, you sort of need to grind like hell in order to understand the skills that you are lacking. And what I mean by that, you might be thinking, okay, Andy, I want to do this. Like, I'm willing to grind. So what skills should I be focusing on? There's 3 areas that we chose that I still believe today are really, really important of understanding it. It was sales. So first and foremost, you need to have something to sell, and you need to be able to talk about that in a way that you believe in your product, that it's actually going to get someone the result that you're saying. The second one is the delivery. So how you actually deliver that thing, because people tend to think, if I can make the sale, I've won. But the reality is, business is built on retention. Not enough people talk about retention, but it is one of the key factors that you should be looking at in terms of your success in business. If you're having to have new clients every month and you have to replace every single one of them every month, you're going to cause yourself way more stress than you probably need. You could find, how do you solve step 1 in the first month, and then how do you solve step 2 in the second month? I know that's a really simplistic version of that, but it is important to actually understand what you need to do in order to scale that further. Third one was the one that I was more heavily involved in, because the delivery and the systems were my sort of thing, but it's systems. In the 1 to 5K mark, you don't need to be building these crazy workspaces. Like, that's not what I'm saying for you to do. I don't actually recommend many people in the beginning to have mental workspaces or to actually build anything that good. I have a 1-page business hub that is literally just 1 page on Notion that I think could suffice up to the 5 to 10K mark easily if you were to just stick with doing those things. I actually think I created a full video on it, which I'll put in the cards if that's the case. If not, I'll make a future video of me actually going through that. So those 3 things at that stage is what's most important. Find something that you can sell that actually delivers value to an individual. And then from that point, when you've made the sale, you haven't stopped there. Don't just make the sale and think, oh, I'm all good to go now. Actually figure out, how do you deliver that thing better than anyone else? And at this stage, I'm not going to overcomplicate it. I'm not going to tell you to do all these little nitty gritty stuff that you should be doing. Just try and sell something that's good, sell it well, and talk about it like you believe in it. And then once you've got that belief and you've sold it, deliver it well. Back off and then not work on that side just because you think you have to make more sales. You can make sales for eternity. A product or service isn't good, people won't come back and people won't talk about you. And third, systems. Really, really simple systems. You don't need anything crazy. Just tasks that you're going to do, things that you're working on to improve the delivery process, ideas that you have in maybe your clients, so that you can keep track of all the calls that you have and all the notes that you're taking, because those are going to give you insights as to like how you can create content and how you can better your service and how you can get feedback and testimonials and all that sort of stuff. It gives you that insight as to what you're wanting to do. John and I were able to get that monthly recurring revenue up to about 3.4K in about a 6 to 7 month period. Now, I know for a lot of people, maybe watching this video, you might be desensitized to that type of growth of thinking, oh, that's nothing. But if you are actually in the trenches and you're doing those things, you will realize it is a lot harder than just, flicking a switch and you're making a ton of sales. There's so much that goes into that to get us to that point. And that's when we hired our first person into the business. And it was actually a sales guy. It was Jack. It was John's best friend from childhood. He was working in a 9 to 5 for the last 7 years. So we were teaching him from complete scratch of how to do sales and what we were wanting him to do for us. And that was a big, big learning curve. And when you hire someone for the first time and when you're doing hiring for the first time, you're going to realize that the learning curve is steep. It is really steep. Leadership in your business is probably still the hardest thing that I've had to kind of wrap my head around and try to get better at just from starting. I think I'm a really good people person. I think I work really well with people, But leadership and trying to get someone to learn certain things and new things that they've never done before, can be really difficult. But at the time, we didn't really have the funds to be able to have someone who's got years of experience in the field, because you can't pay them what they're probably needing. And you also don't have all the leads coming in that would suffice for actually paying for that. Now, in hindsight, you could look at it in a bit of a different way, where you can just hire them on commission and you just give them the leads as and when they come in. But at that point, me and John were doing the sales calls together to try and learn as much as we can. And we actually had a really good close rate. We closed most of the people we got on calls with. Again, because we rejected a lot, the people we were getting on calls with were really warm and they kind of knew they wanted to join anyway. And we were dirt cheap at the time. I think we were charging like £50 to £100 per month for our membership. From that point, of like the 3.4k, by the end of that year we managed to get to roughly about 5 to 6k. That's what we were sort of at, and we've done that quite consistently for a good period of time. And this is where we get onto that 5 to 10k mark, because for me, that's where the bigger challenges really started to come in, where you'd now proven that your product worked, proved that it fit somewhere, that people were actually willing to pay for it, and that we're getting results off the back of it. Because we were working on our delivery, I was working on the systems and the delivery at the same time. Me and John were kind of doing half and half at that point, and it showed that we had something that was there. But in November of 2023, it was complete carnage, I won't lie. It was a terrible time for me. We lost 6 or 7 clients in one weekend. We had got messages from all of them. We tried to build personal relationships with these clients. So hearing 6 to 7 people, all different people, sending us messages for different reasons that they had to stop, took a really big hit to my ego. I was extremely upset in the whole month of December because I was panicking that our business was going to fail. And when it came to January time, when John and I came back, we took a break at Christmas because I feel we needed it. Once we came back, we locked the fuck in for the next 3 or 4 months. And from that point, we just done everything we possibly could in order to make this business work. We figured out where the bottlenecks were going wrong, where people were dropping off most, and what we could do to market ourselves better. So I even remember every morning I would get up, I think it was about 5 in the morning, half 5 in the morning, and I would go in a shower just to start my day, and I was just standing there in the shower feeling so down about myself because I was like, we need to make this work and I don't know how. But I showed up anyway. And that was what John did as well. And I think that's why our relationship is still so good to this day, is that we knew we had each other's backs. Like no matter what, we had each other's backs and we wanted to move forward with this. So every morning we got up, we were on a call together. We worked for 3 or 4 hours on the business. What could we do to improve the product? What could we do to improve the systems? What could we do to improve visibility in the company and actually continuously move that forward? And that's exactly what we done. So by the time it got to April, we managed to hit our 10 and then 20k month. And that was the first time we were able to do that. So we went from about 6k in that month all the way up to the 10, and I think it was about February. And then by April, we'd hit 20. And this was for a few factors. One of the things that we'd realized is that I could build bespoke systems for people within Notion. That was where my main focus was at the time. So I started taking on one-to-one clients, and what John started to do as well was take on one-to-one clients. So we started to split what the product and service that we were offering was. So instead of having just one service that we were offering, we looked at offering 3-4 different services in that one sphere. So in our coaching mastermind for entrepreneurs, we were teaching them things about sales and systems and delivery and marketing and all that sort of stuff. But what we were then also doing was doing that individually on a one-to-one basis. So building systems for people. John was helping them one-to-one with our marketing, and that allowed us to really start pushing that forward and getting the revenue numbers up, which again allowed us to have a little bit of breathing room to actually do that. That time in November to April was kind of like a blink. You know, you kind of done stuff and that was it. I didn't even think at that time, really, because my November to December was probably one of the worst times in my life for a long time. There's a few things that have happened in my life that were worse, but that time is the first time in business that I've truly felt like I'm going to fail here, and I'm quite scared because it wasn't working out the way we wanted to. And you put so much effort into it that your identity is attached to your business. If you fail, then you've failed as an individual. Everyone sees you as a failure. Everyone will publicly know that you have failed and you've not achieved what you said you were going to achieve. And that really hurt. I've realized now that that's just part of it. You know, most people fail a lot when it comes to business, and you have to shut down businesses, you have to change, you have to pivot. it's just life. That's part of it. That's why the game's so hard, because it is really, really difficult. You put your ego on the line and you don't have a strong willpower at that time, and you don't have a good mental state for yourself. This is going to be very, very hard. So in that 5 to 10K mark, what kind of took us to that next stage was figuring out what was working best for our clients, what we were best at, and repeating those as much as we could. So figuring out what were the things that actually took them to that next level. What were the things that genuinely allowed us to get to that next stage? And that's exactly what we done. We focused on those parts, which then helped us reach that first 10K mark, which got us over that edge, because now we'd had some sort of product fit that this can work. People are paying for it, but you kind of need to take it to that next stage if you're wanting to make more money. What we also done in this time is we upped the prices, I think once inside of that period of time, because we realized we were giving so much value to people for a really, really small price. And the problem that you're going to run into is when you're in that sort of mid-range mark, you're going to have some clients that are going to demand a lot from you when they probably don't deserve it. At the end of the day, we made our bed, so we lay in it. We were the ones that were choosing this price point. This was where our clients were coming from, and we were also building confidence in ourselves. So charging high prices was quite difficult to do and was quite challenging to do. And this is where you then leverage your time a little bit better, and you get better at leveraging your time some more because of that. And the final one that we're going to talk about today, because I could ramble on for ages about this, and if you want me to actually tell you a full story of how we done this and maybe take you through step by step and more of like a PowerPoint version, then I'm more than happy to do that. But the 10 to 30K mark was kind of a little bit different. We started to invest a lot heavier in ourselves and a lot heavier in what we were doing. So we actually worked with Phil Graham for, I think it was 6 or 7 months in 2024. And we just started with him when we hit our first 20K month. So it was in April of 2024. We went to his house and he basically told us, do you want to run a real business or a fucking gentleman's club? And that kind of hit, hard. We were naive. We didn't really understand where we were wanting to go, why we paid so much money for him. We went to his house over in Ireland and we learned from him for that day. And for the rest of 2024, we managed to stay above that 20K mark for the whole year, which was amazing. Being able to do that and being able to stay there with a good profit margin as well. It allowed us to take more money out of the business. It allowed us to live a little bit more freely. It allowed us to take some bonuses at the end of the year, which was amazing. So there was a lot that went on that was really, really good with that. Bill was the one that allowed us to see more about, one, that we were charging far too little for what we were doing, and also two, that we were not leveraging our ability for people to pay in different ways. So what I mean by both of those is we actually changed our offer massively. Like we went from just being a sort of entrepreneurial network to a coaching mastermind of basically taking someone from X to Y. And that transformation would then allow you to justify a heavy increase in price. Because now it's no longer just about the people that you're meeting inside of here. It's that you're going to come in at this space and we're going to get you to that space. And that was what we wanted to then start selling. And when we first launched that, we lost a fair few clients. And we knew that was going to be the case, but it was heavy to take because I think at the time we had just crossed the VAT threshold as well, which is another thing where you have to start charging clients 20% more, else you take the 20% hit. In the UK, it just doesn't make sense to do that because you're also getting charged corporation tax and you're getting charged your other stuff that you have to pay. So you have to then bite the bullet of increasing prices by 20% additionally because of that. And there was a lot of changes going on in that time. So losing clients felt really hard. It was really tough because you were wanting to change your offer to make it better, to be more scalable, but you also needed to earn money. So there was a lot of moving parts in that space, and it definitely takes quite a toll on you when it comes to that side of things. So when we were growing from that stage, it was a lot of uncomfortable conversations and uncomfortable learnings because you have to really take yourself out of that equation and your ego away from it and realize that in order to get to that next stage, you have to kind of kill the previous person and kill that previous self because you need to grow. So working with Phil and improving that offer allowed us to then have a more scalable company because the new people that came in with that offer started to get really, really good results really quickly. And that was because John and I had literally created and done hundreds of trainings with people over the last 2 years so that we could help people get to that next stage. And as we started to get to that stage as well, you then found new ways of actually getting people quicker, faster results and how to get there better. And that's what's making our product and service improve, and that's how we could charge more. Over the course of that period of time, again, we were still doing the bespoke stuff where I was taking one-to-one on system side of things because I'd built 16 systems in that year of 2024, and John had also done his one-to-one work for the marketing side of things, so he was helping with ads, he was helping with the marketing, the delivery process, that sort of stuff. This then meant in November of 2024, we hit our first 33k month. It was roughly about a 40% net profit margin. And that was an electric feeling to be able to do, because we were toying with like the 20 to 25k mark from April all the way up into November. And it was once that November hit, we managed to do it because we crossed a few deals over the line. We were able to get that. We were able to be successful with it. The overarching theme of this is that building your business is a lot harder than people tend to make it out to be. And it's not to say that you can't be successful and that you won't be. I think there will be a lot of successes and failures in your life. And if you're building a coaching business right now and that's your aim, you do have to think about things outside of what these YouTubers are telling you or what these courses are telling you. It is not sunshine and rainbows. It is very difficult. Your personal self has to grow just as much as your business. You have to become less ego-driven. You have to be switched the fuck on a lot of the time. And you have to understand how hard this is genuinely going to be. When you're wanting to improve your business, when you're wanting to get it to that next stage, you're going to have to sacrifice that previous self, because growing to that next level is really difficult, and taking that on is also really difficult. Just know that you are fully capable of doing it, because one of the things I used to think about was that I couldn't be the person that could reach 10k months. And now that I'm solo, because I parted ways with John of being the co-owner of The Uncommon, and no bad blood whatsoever, John is still one of my best friends. I have calls with him basically every day of working on the businesses together, of what we're doing. But it is so important. I never thought that I would be someone that could even do that. Like, I genuinely didn't see myself as someone that could achieve 10k months. Never mind 30. You know, I just didn't believe that I was capable of doing that, and I didn't think I was worthy of doing that. I didn't think I was good enough to do that. You can continue to show up every day and just try your best. And that best is figuring out ways that you can become better. You'd be really surprised of what you can achieve in 2, 3, 4 years. It's not going to be an overnight. It's not going to be 2 weeks and in a month you're fucking millionaire. But you can genuinely do really, really well with this if you stick at it for a longer period of time. Thinking anyone who's in that starting or scaling phase in their business and wants to learn from someone who maybe done it more recently and is not just talking a load of crap, then this could be an incredible video for you. Again, I've got a quiz in the description that you could take to see how your systems are sort of panning out, and you'll be able to get some actionable steps on how you can move it forward. If you want to see more of this type of video, then let me know, and I know the one on the screen right now will be something you'll absolutely love to watch.